Hey everyone, welcome to Project Insights On Demand webinar. Today we're going to be discussing the Professional Services Project Lifecycle. So just a quick intro, PI is the leader in project data aggregation at the center of work in your company. Whether you need to centralize your project process from initiation to close or aggregate project data from multiple apps, PI helps you fill in the gaps across your organization. We're the first project management software to offer solutions for teams of all sizes and all budgets. My name is Alexa and I'm on the marketing team here at PI, and I'll be your moderator for today. And our presenter for today is Margaret Campbell. She's our project insight expert and our customer success champion. So a brief overview of today's agenda. We'll be discussing the professional services project lifecycle from initiation to close, how to go from proposals to projects to invoices, and lastly, we'll take you through sales orders to project fulfillment. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Margaret.
Thank you, Alexa. So Project Insight has created a feature to go with every portion of the project lifecycle. We know that some teams need help with the initiation of how to put projects in your pipeline, what your priorities should be, how do you know what to move forward with? And then we also know that teams take a look at planning for those projects that they decide to move forward with. Finally, monitoring and executing, and then the ultimate project management question that helps no matter what team you have is your definition of done. How does everyone agree that we are finished working on this project when something happens? So let's take this to the professional services spot that talks a little bit about how we initiate a project is really clear in professional services because a client gets involved and a client wants us to do some work. And how we can monitor that in Project Insight is either through the CRM system, if you're using Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, Zoho, any of those other CRM systems. They're not a competitor to Project Insight at all because they monitor your customer relationship. They monitor how many phone calls you made to them, who are your primary people there, how do you know what the next step in the sales cycle is. But then there's Project Insight, where Project Insight comes in and we take care of what work are we actually doing for this team? So I'm going to go ahead and add a proposal. And that brings me to the proposal add screen. Sometimes this screen can be initiated by the CRM system itself. So if you already have a really solid sales order process in CRM, let us map those fields and not do any double entry. But for other teams, we're going to go ahead and give this a name. We're going to say we're doing this for client A, giant migration of Mite. Now, we can start typing in any of these drop downs to narrow down client A, help it find the list of who we're looking for. And then if we have a contract that we're already using for client A, let's go ahead and put those rates in right here at the top level. Project Insight will use this rate card to calculate how much is this going to cost us. If you'd like more information on how we use rate cards, that's another lesson, and it's super helpful to teams with professional services who might have a different rate set up for client A versus client B that's negotiated a different rate. If you have somebody at the client that's already a user in Project Insight, maybe they'll come in here and offer their approval of a system. We have that in here already. You can say, okay, Michelle, notify you that we're ready to take a look at this proposal. You let me know if this looks correct. Assign to, we're going to assign this to me. Generally, we'll have it assigned to whomever's creating it, but if we have an actual process that this proposal must go through, like here internally, we have the salesperson who's creating the order, but then it gets tossed over the fence to the actual professional services team, who then needs to build a project from it and work on what the actual details are to accomplishing these line items. Today's the 30th. It's going to put in today's as the proposal date. And if I had any standard descriptions or standard legalese, I could put that in here as well in the administration section so that I don't have to retype this every single time. But for this point, I'm going to hit save and display. And that's all the metadata that I need for this giant migration of Mite. So what are we doing for this person? Well, we can add these time deliverables to say, first, we're going to scope the project. And that's probably going to be about 25,000. We can hit save and have that line item stand on its own. The other way we can add time is to say this is the design and testing phase, and we can say we estimate that's going to take us about 70 hours worth of work, and it's going to take a graphic designer to do the majority of it. We could also break that out and say the design phase takes a graphic designer for 7,000, and the develop phase takes an engineer for 140 hours. Hit save. You can see how this starts to build itself. And then if we have any material costs that we need to pay for, expenses considered, we're going to take about $10,000 in that. And then this is where we can add a detailed description of what that could all mean. So we're going to need lunch for the team every day. We're going to need streamers for the party we're going to throw. Whatever else you're going to put in here, hit save. And now that can show up on the actual sales order to explain where all these details are coming from. Project Insight's going to add up all this for you, and this starts to look like an actual sales order. Some teams even go so far as to export this proposal into an actual sales order where they can save it and turn it into a PDF for the client's view. This is an example of the Project Insights proposal that we use. It's got our logo on the top, our contact information, and then all of these deliverables come over as separate line items. These are the line items of labor, these are the line items for materials, and here's the total cost. Now all of this can be changed before we turn it over into a PDF and send it over to the client. But definitely this is one of those one of those advantages that teams use to build it only once, and then Project Insight fills in the information as we need it. Then we can save it as a PDF and send it over to them. The other thing that teams sometimes do is to close up the description. They also can set up approvals down here so that your client can log in, take a look at these and say, yes, I do approve this, and you'll get a time and a date stamp for when they approved it. All right, so that's the initiation phase. Do we move forward with this work? Now, when we move into planning stages, usually associated with the client reaching a certain part in their sales cycle, or with a client saying, yes, I'm ready to move forward, sign on the dotted line, let's do this. So whatever point in the sales cycle you decide you're going to create a project, it's as easy as clicking one button, create project. That takes me to the project add form. And all of this information that came over already came from the proposal itself. So as we're gathering information, maybe we start to decide who the project manager is. Alexa, I'll make you project manager of this particular project. You're welcome. Put it in the planning stage because we're still forecasting and seeing which resources we might need. And we can even put a scorecard on this score to decide whether we're going to move forward with this project or not. But let's save and display this project. And that will bring over all of the line items you see here. Now we could do a couple of things. One, we could start building out this project plan to say, hey, this is the scope, insert a task. And it's as easy as going in here and saying, I think this will take 5 days. I think this will take 20 hours. And I think I'm going to assign this to Jill. Oh, I'm going to assign it to Alexa. There you go. And that'll all start to build itself. This scope section being the higher level. Or what I can do is I can go to here to add tasks from a template and use our standard product development to say, the vision and strategy, the scoping phase should go underneath the scope, and hit save. Now I'll have this scoping phase here with all of our traditional tasks that we usually take on. that we're going to do promotion and communication, and then the scope document business requirements will be finished. Now, when I roll this up, all the things that have to happen for scope, it's going to take us about 6 days and about 68 hours worth of work. For the sake of time and through the magic of television, I'm just going to add the remaining product development tasks to this template, hit save. And we'll see that all of these tasks come over vision and strategy, initiation, etc. But this will all be done according to your own business practices. All right, so this giant migration of Mite has to go through all of these steps in order to be considered finished. This is where we get into the planning stage of saying, Jill's going to do this work. We should be finished with this work by November. We can also take a look at the total project plan down here at the bottom, this gray line that says, if we start this today, we should be done with it by November 15th. Is that acceptable? Should we be done with this in time for the client? And we start to make those plans that are actually based on general numbers of what's worked for us in the past. Then we start getting the work done. We can launch this and go live, care more about what's going on in this active view than what was in the planning view. That's where it's going to tell me, okay, we've finished these tasks. And for the sake of funsies, let's go ahead and say that Jill has spent 1,000 hours up until this point, putting her time in, saying that this is taking her some time. So now we're into the manage and execute the project plan. We're saying, is this on budget? Is this on time? Is this moving in the direction we need it to? And in this point, we're a little bit early. We were supposed to be done with this by the 9th, and now we're getting it done today. But all the while this is happening, our invoice records and proposals are starting to climb. And we see here that we're doing $70,000 worth of proposal, and we're putting $10,000 worth of work on it. So this will tell us whether we're on budget or on time from a really high level. Leadership loves this page because it shows how we're doing from our proposal towards executing the project, and then have we invoiced anything yet? And at this point, we have not. So let's go ahead and do that and say we finished the scope phase. It's time to create an invoice. And let's do this for at least the next, well, no, let's say it's for today. The name of this invoice is just the scoping phase. And hit save. Now it's going to bring over all of these line items from the proposal already built in. So it's as easy as going in and saying, well, we haven't done the design yet. We haven't done the development yet. And we haven't done the expenses considered yet. That's all happening later in this project plan. So the only thing I need this invoice to be is for this milestone of scope. So now I've got it to match exactly what I want. I can even make edits to this if I wanted to say this is scope completed 10/30. That's just an example of how you can make any changes you need to. And then you can mark it as done. If you have an integration with any of our accounting softwares, whether it's QuickBooks or anything else like that, we also have a mark as ready to download button that says, all right, this can be batched when we're ready to send out our invoices. So now we can start to see this take shape to say, all right, we initiated that this was going to be 70,000. We've now reached this milestone that allowed us to bill 25,000. We're still a little bit over where we said we'd be billable hours wise. So the project health is something to manage and make note of for next time. But most importantly, as this project plan keeps moving forward, Project Insight's going to keep track of what has been invoiced and what has not. So if I go to create a new invoice, let's say we finish the design phase and we've agreed that we will do that, we'll bill at that point. I'll add the name of this invoice is the design phase, hit save, and same exact thing. It's rinse, wash, and repeat. We're not going to do the development and we're not going to do the expenses. Just a $7,000 invoice because we've reached that milestone in the project plan. Now, this is an example of milestone billing. If you bill this way, then Project Insight's super easy to create a new invoice and let us take care of the math on what should be invoiced and what shouldn't be. If you do things time and materials, then having team members enter their hours is extraordinarily important to know, okay, we have reached this point in the project. Let's go ahead and bill for those 10,000 hours that, or $10,000 worth of hours that Jill's already put in. And the way we do that is to go to invoice records, add an invoice. Is it typical that you'd mix these two types of invoices? No, but you know your team and you know your culture. So if you're doing fixed price billing, you'd do the first section. And if you're doing time and materials billing, you'd do this section. And it's as easy as going to add bulk line items and have it pull up, I want one line item per summary task, meaning the scope will roll up all of those hours all at once. And then let Project Insight do all that math for you. All right. So we've talked about monitoring and controlling, managing the project plan. If you don't know about the other awesome Project Insight features we have regarding the task list, and then also taking a look at what's coming down the pipe, are we going to be on budget or on time? What's our overall status of this project? Definitely check out some of the other videos in our series, because monitoring and controlling is what we do best. So take a look at some of the other features we have to make sure that your projects end up exactly where they're supposed to be and exactly where they were estimated.
Hey, Margaret. So I had a couple questions for you. How can PI help deal with the changes in the project scope after the proposal was approved?
Perfect. So that happens quite a bit. We get moving along the project plan. We finished quite a bit of what we thought we needed to get done, and then the client comes back and says, wait. We know we agreed that we wanted this to be pink, but we changed our mind and we actually want it to be blue. That kind of thing happens all the time, so that's where these proposals can be even more helpful. The original proposal was for $70,000, and it was for the original plan of Giant Migration of Might. It's as easy as going in here and saying, well, wait a minute, we've now had a scope change. We're going to change this to say change order. Some teams have a really formal change order process, change order 1, change order 10, change order 11. Go ahead and name this whatever makes sense to you. And you'll do the same thing. You'll say, okay, well, in this particular case, you'd like us to change nope, that's the wrong one. Into my proposals. So in this particular case, you'd like us to make a change to say, I'm doing make it blue instead of pink. That's actually going to cost you about $4,000 worth of change. Do you agree on this, yes or no? Do you really want to spend the $4,000 to change the color? They can do the same process of approving it, or they can send it out in an actual PDF. However your process works, it's as easy as then saying, okay, now I'm going to add this line item to my project. There's a button right here that says add to project. Now when I go to this task list, make it blue instead of pink is going to be here at the bottom. And I can put it in wherever it makes sense. So here in the design phase, we had the product launch design going on, and then we had to change it and add this in instead. Give it a resource. Who's going to be responsible for making that change? Nick, that's all you, buddy. It's probably going to take you about 5 hours to do it. And then the project plan will move along the way that it's supposed to.
Great. And then, so as far as managing customer approvals electronically, is that on our roadmap?
Oh, no, that's in there right now. So you go ahead and go to the proposals in question. The Giant Migration of Might, down here, we have a section called approvals. And it's as easy as going to the approval section, hitting add, And then give this approval a name. So for, I think her name was Michelle. She's going to approve this proposal called the Client A Giant Migration of Might. And I'm going to add Michelle to that approval because she was the person on my list that I said. She must approve. If there's someone else who has to take a look at it too, like in some cases I have my big boss guy, Jeff, who should approve it second. I could say, okay, first Michelle's going to look at it, and then once she does, Jeff has to look at it. That's what these boxes are for, and they are incredibly robust in allowing you to say, is it a free-for-all? Can anyone approve at any time, or does it have to go in order?
I know for external, oh, go ahead, Margaret.
Yeah, go ahead.
For external customer approvals, I know that it's on our roadmap to be released in 2019. We're going to be integrating with DocuSign and Adobe Sign, and also allowing further enterprise and enterprise compliance and policy.
That makes sense. So to make this feature even more robust is going to be the DocuSign side of things, where we can really make sure that Michelle is the person who's saying yes to this. But just for many of our clients right now, the way they use it is Michelle's the only person that has her own login. So when she goes in and hits approved, you'll get the date and time stamp as to she approved it on this date at this time. If that's enough for your team, then that's exactly how you'll use this feature. If you'd like some of those more robust features, those are coming in 2019.
Yeah, and then we're also going to be developing a simple e-signature model just to make the process a lot easier.
Cool. I'm excited for that.
So last question, does PI integrate with financial ERP packages? And what are some examples?
For sure, yeah. So let's wrap up this conversation just by saying you can see the approval right here. It's current, it's pending. The most important thing I want you to walk away with from this whole discussion is that Project Insight's going to centralize everything all in one place. So what the line items were, who approved it and when, how does that affect the project plan? All of those type of things go hand in hand in Project Insight to show you where first comes this, then comes this, there comes that in the project lifecycle. So to hop into making those invoice records move over seamlessly, we talked about that here I have made these invoice records, and here I have let's say I've marked them as ready to download. Project Insight integrates with all those best-of-breed ERP systems that have an API. So those are going to be like Oracle, NetSuite, QuickBooks Online, and QuickBooks Desktop. If you use QuickBooks Desktop, we still have that available for you too. If you're using Microsoft Dynamics, Sage, and any of those other ERP systems, we've worked with all of them, and we are happy to make sure that when you mark these invoices as ready to download, they get tossed over the fence, and now you can do all of the accounting side of an invoice, which is when was it sent out, when is it past due, who is going to get it paid, all of that. Whereas where Project Insight can take the ball and run with it is what were the deliverables that we agreed on from the proposal, or how many hours did we actually spend that need to be invoiced for.
So I'd like to thank Margaret for walking us through the project lifecycle and showing us how PI can help through every phase of the project process. For those of you on social media, we invite you to follow, like, and connect with us on all social platforms, and you can find us at Project Insight. And for those of you looking to ditch your spreadsheets and cumbersome email conversations, we encourage you to sign up for our free project management solution called PI Team that's empowering teams everywhere. You can sign up for free at projectinsight.com/team. And that's all we have for you today. We'll see you guys next time.